minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Mr. Taylor, it's good to see you again. You may recall I graduated from Tucker High School, so they have unfortunately had a very good football team ever since I left, it seems like, but we pull for the Tucker Tigers all the time, and I thoroughly enjoyed my visit at the headquarters there. And just for the chairman and others to know, Oglethorpe Power is the largest power supply co-op in the nation, and I believe there's like 38 Georgia electric co-ops involved in the ownership. Quite an impressive place and work that you do. The federal power program that SEPA is involved with and provides tremendous, obviously, in its value to Georgia and the Southeast, no question. This specific bill that we are discussing today, how would it help southeastern states and specifically consumers? What kind of impact would it have?
By making available this information to the customers, to the EMCs, the cities who buy power from SEPA, it would provide the information to be able to analyze the cost and make informed decisions. We may not be able to change the cost, but knowing the information could lead us to make better informed decisions and manage our costs.
So is it correct then, I mean, obviously you supply power to a lot of nonprofits, a lot of co-ops and so forth. Is it fair to say that when there are environmental compliance regulations that those costs are transferred to the consumer?
Yes, sir.
How does that whole process work?
As not-for-profit co-ops, we're in the business strictly to benefit the members. We don't make money, no investors, and whatever cost that we incur, we have to pass on to our wholesale EMC members, who then pass it on to their retail customers. Even if whether it's a cost that we buy or a cost that they incur, they'll have to pass it on to their consumers.
So at the end of the day, it's the consumer. If this bill were to become law and we find out more and more cost associated with the environmental regulation, compliance, all that sort of thing, it's the consumer ultimately that's paying for that.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Now you mentioned in your testimony the role of the Corps of Engineers in all of this. I'm still trying to wrap my mind around how all the Corps plays into this. The environmental compliance costs, is it ultimately a Corps responsibility or SEPA?
The regulations that affect generation are directly handled by the Corps. The Corps owns the projects for the federal government and is responsible for operating the projects. Whatever costs they have that are attributable to hydropower, they allocate to hydropower customers. SEPA then sells the power. So if SEPA doesn't get enough energy from the Corps to supply its contract obligations, it may have to buy replacement power, but most of the costs that they pass on to consumers come from the Corps of Engineers. So the replacement cost is one piece that SEPA may have to add, but mostly, they're the ones who are selling the power, but mostly the costs come from the Corps.
Okay, so my assumption coming into this was that if it was a Corps responsibility, that the cost would fall on the backs of taxpayers. If it was a SEPA responsibility, it'd fall on the consumers. But that's not what you're saying.
No, sir. In fact, that's one of the most important aspects of the way we view federal hydropower. The hydropower customers are, in the Southeast for sure, are the only beneficiaries of those federal hydropower projects that pay the full cost of the projects. Every Corps project in the Southeast has been allocated a portion of the cost, the original cost and the operating cost are designated for hydropower, and those are paid for by the hydropower customers. The other beneficiaries, whether it's recreation or fish and wildlife or whatever, those are the costs that are typically borne by the federal taxpayers.
Okay, so on billing statements, should there, in your opinion, should there be something for the consumers then to be aware of what the costs are associated with environmental compliance versus just energy costs?
Yes, I think that's very helpful. You may know in Georgia that our Public Service Commission requires the regulated utilities to show as a separate charge the certain environmental costs. And I think that's been helpful, both for the utility to recover it, but also to help show the cost of that compliance. And so I think that's one example that shows that it has informational value, and I believe that would be the case with this as well.
I certainly agree. And thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and I appreciate you being here.
Thank you.